something that just moved in one of these 2 rooms.
We're documenting a structure that we found last night.
I'll go up to the house, bang on it and say, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Now,
What the fuck was that?
Did you hear that?
Tonight's episode of the Cryptic Heartland podcast may contain video and audio footage that some people may find disturbing. Viewer discretion advised. Hey everyone, this is the Cryptic Heartland podcast. It is Sunday, June 11th, 2017. My name is Neil Fernandez. I'm every day in Amityville Paranormal. I'm one of the hosts here. And tonight is episode 6, which is kind of fitting because it's a special topic tonight. One of my favorites. We're going to talk about demonic hauntings, everything from the myths and legends behind it, what to expect if you have one, and just some of the famous cases throughout history that we kind of all know and love, I think, personally. So let everybody introduce themselves. Just kind of on the list here.
I'm Jason with Everyday Legacy Paranormal and Road Trip Paranormal and Bigfoot in Kansas and Ghost Tours in Kansas.
There it is.
I keep forgetting that.
Michelle, Road Trip Paranormal, Everyday Legacy.
Gloria, Road Trip Paranormal, and Everyday Legacy.
Well, every weekend going good so far?
So far.
It's hotter than hell outside.
Yeah, and speaking of hell, like we said, yes, it's hell, and here it's hot, and kind of goes along with tonight's theme. We're like talking about demonic hauntings. I don't even know what to begin on that. I mean, you can go any direction on this. It's a fun topic. It's one that, like I said,
I don't think a lot of people even want to talk about it most of the time. It's one of those scary topics that a lot of people don't want to. They ask us all the time. When we go into cases, how often have we ever encountered anything like that? And to be honest, it's far and few in between.
right.
If we even, I think even knew what was going on with the aspect of, going only once or twice, however many times we're allowed in. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead, keep talking.
But no, we it's hard to ever I don't know, to determine whether or not it's demonic or anything like that. It would take a lot of different times going over it.
Right. Just kind of before we begin here, once again, like always, we have some housekeeping things that we got to discuss. We are filming live in a haunted location, undisclosed, so you never know what you're going to hear, see, pretty much anything.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. So
we can blame it on that, right?
always. If you have any problems with any audio at home, any video at home, please let us know. We're watching live. If you do want to call in, the phone number is down at the very bottom. The phone number is 316-617-1232. Once again, that's 316-617-1232. Or use the live chat on the left-hand side there of the screen, or right-hand, I guess. It's left-hand, I don't know. It's the right-hand side of the screen. I know my right and left sometimes. But in order to use that feature, make sure you sign in with I believe it's a Google account, and you should go chat live with us and we'll answer your questions on air, or like I said, you can call in. As far as demonic cases go, throughout history, well, first of all, everybody thinks anytime they get scratched, pushed, touched, feel something dark, they see a dark shadow, red dots, you name it, they seem to think it's a scary haunting, it's a demonic haunting, which may or may not always be the case. That's one thing we're going to start with is the myths, legends kind of a thing. We'll just dive right in, get our hands dirty, and talk about it. But not always is something that happens to you considered a demonic haunting. Just because, like I said, you got pushed, you got touched, whatever, you got violated, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it may or may not be demonic. And our first noise of the night happened, and I don't know where that came from. So Was it? No, it's right here. Somewhere right here. Something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So anyways, like I said, you never know what you're going to get. Apparently I struck a nerve with something here, talking about demonic hauntings or hauntings in general. But as far as demonic hauntings go, like I said, just because you have something going on in your home, whether it be dark, whether it be negative, whatever, it doesn't make it demonic haunting. It may mean you have a mischievous ghost. You may have a malevolent ghost. I mean, you may have different things. It may be somebody who's just plain old grumpy in life,
Grumpy.
like Jason. No, I'm kidding. No, seriously. It may be somebody like who just had a bad life, and that's how they are in the afterlife. They kind of portray that afterwards, the same type of person. Anybody want to chime in anytime? Go ahead. Don't make me do all the talking here, guys. I can talk for hours, and I know Jason's talking with me. We'll talk you guys off the screen, so
Well,
so chime in anytime, guys. And before I begin, too, we have a couple people in studio. Also, we have Max behind the board tonight, and behind him is Paula. So they may chime in time to time, ask some questions to us. They might read your questions on air, and we'll go from there. So back to demonic hauntings. Anybody want to take over and give us your thoughts?
Well, I think, how you said not everything is demonic.
Right.
The instance of the soda shop.
Yep.
The gentleman that's upstairs there.
Mm-hmm.
By no means is he demonic, but he is going to give you some very, I don't want you here, you need to leave. He's going to do everything he can to have that space to himself. So he will, do things to get you to leave. He doesn't want you there. That's his space. He's a loner.
We get that a lot.
And,
With
it
a lot of
doesn't
things.
mean that it's demonic or that it's, but he's going to get off that negativity because he doesn't want you there. So, I think you guys had some things thrown at you, possibly Leo did, and so he's going to do what he can to get you out of his space.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that it's demonic. So that, I guess, would that be an instance that you
It could be. I mean, especially with the throwing of things. You have a question? Sorry, off the bat. Or something?
Gloria, just speak up a little
Yeah.
bit.
Speak
Oh,
up.
sorry.
Yeah. I normally, trust me, my voice isn't carried at all. That's why I'm kind of yelling, it sounds like. Because I know
okay.
I want to make sure. I've watched enough of the videos at home after production and seeing that, make sure everything's real enunciated, real loud and clear. That's why. So I feel you. But anyways, what she's talking about, the soda shop, it's a place out in north central Kansas where we were in a basement during an investigation, public investigation. We were just asking questions to anybody and everybody like normal, and we feel like it was a rock was thrown at us. It was caught on audio, caught on video, but unfortunately it was caught in the dark, so as far as I know, it could have been whatever got thrown, But now, noise number 2. In the studio, sorry. But as far as some people that experienced it could maybe thought it was maybe a darker entity. Could have been just, hey, you guys are bugging me. I'm working here still in my time. Get out of my space. Get the hell on, basically, kind of thing. So I know it wasn't demonic. I don't feel like it was, because let's figure out what a demonic haunting is. What exactly is a demonic haunting? It is what it is. It's a haunting that involves a demon. That's why it's demonic haunting. Now, like with our case that we had over there, it wasn't demonic. It was just something that was, it's almost, you can consider some of that stuff, and they can manipulate things, move things. That's more of a poltergeist haunting, because they can manipulate things. They can pick up objects, levitate them, throw them. But not necessarily. It might have just been a ghost that has the capability to pick up things and throw it. It may not be none of it. Just could have been somebody, like I said, working. Because there we were at, an actual basement, used to be, I think they had some kind of immigrant workers down there doing coal. So, if we were just interrupting their workflow, maybe they're just saying, get that noise, get the hell out of here, basically, kind of thing,
Well,
Must be bugging me.
While we were down there, we were hearing whispering and talking over by the coal chutes.
Yeah.
Down in the basement.
Right, exactly. So, I don't feel like that was demonic in any nature. In my personal case, or experiences that we've been doing this, I can't even imagine how many cases we've done. I have personally never, ever come across a demonic haunting that we've experienced.
Well, what about that one that was out in the country with the woman and her son, where the son was...
Oh, well, that's probably as close as I can think of. You're talking about the farmhouse with
where the
the...
son had changed his personality.
See, and that brings up an excellent point because some of the cases that I will discuss, they had something similar happen. Not necessarily the makeup of the haunting; it's the fact that what occurred to why they started possibly seeing stuff, hearing stuff. In that particular case, the son was in a car accident, a motorcycle accident. It wasn't
Right.
more than half. That was me, by the way.
And we didn't even find that out till after what, the second time.
Right. When we
We
came
were
out
out
with the
there.
evidence, she told us, well, he was in an actual motorcycle accident, wasn't wearing a helmet.
in Trump.
But the thing is, though, he was seeing these, I think, even prior to the
Right,
actual
he
accident.
was.
So,
But it intensified after he had his head injury, and
right,
you got to go into the psychological part of that too.
right,
Was he then being manipulated by
Right.
what was there? Now, at least 3 people died on the property.
yeah,
In the house, there's some trailers that were on the property as well that were all caving in and stuff, but they were all, you know, she said at least 3 people died on the property.
right,
How or why, we don't know. But
yeah. Now, we're going back to his mental state, and we're gonna talk about that later on. Some of the famous cases. A couple people they walked that line where were they mentally there? Were they not mentally there? They suffered physical ailments, even though they were, experiencing demonic haunting. That's what they were treated for. In this case, it's probably the closest I can imagine getting close to demonic, maybe, but I don't.
that's the feeling I felt the whole time. You know?
See, and the thing was, again, it was just a malevolent spirit because through the ghost walks we did say, were you the one, chasing, pushing the owner? And he said, yes. Plain as day, yes. Well, why are you doing this? Satan. As we came across as Satan. Now, was it Satan? I didn't see anybody's pitchfork there, I didn't see anything like that, As far as intents and purposes, it could have been, it may not have been, who knows? I mean, we didn't, other than that one little dark saying that came through, that's as close as we could get to it as far as it maybe possibly being demonic. Whatever was there didn't want us there, and let us know more than one occasion as far as just.
I remember being outside, we had things thrown at us outside too. We were having we had rocks, branches, hanging off the car as we're standing out there. And there was nobody out there. We were even casing the property and running around, and you couldn't see anything. You couldn't hear anybody
Right.
around. We're out in the middle of the country in a pasture on a farmhouse,
Yeah.
and we had stuff being thrown at us, rocks and nature, like all around us.
Right. And that was actually the same case we talked about. In the very first episode of this podcast, we talked about different types of investigations we've done, different places we've been. That was the one I referenced early on where we talked about, we heard this ungodly, inhumane noise. I can't, come on, my day, to this day, I have no idea what it is. I wish I had recorded. It never showed up on any of our recorders.
Loud thumping.
It was
It's like a
just,
bass.
it was like a sonic wave, just
Yeah.
pulsating the air outside. It wasn't inside the house, it was on the actual property itself. And where it came from, who knows, because there's no houses around there. It's out in the middle, pretty much, on the edge of town, nowhere. I mean, there's nothing nearby. There's a highway not too far from it, but at the time there was no cars. We would have caught.
Yeah.
We watched for cars and we tagged them. We see them. You could barely hear the cars on the highway. It wasn't on a car. We were outside. It was. I have no idea.
Jason, didn't you and another team member go out there like later on and find like some ritual? type
Oh,
things?
yes. After and I think I mentioned this last time
you did.
too, on the last episode actually.
Was it? I
too.
can't remember one of the first. Second one,
Went out there because Brendan and I were out doing some research for a Sasquatch sighting. So, we were heading back and we didn't want to go home yet because we were kind of all jived about what we were doing that day. And he was like, can you take me by the farmhouse? Because you said it was, no one was there anymore. I said, sure, yeah, I'll drive right out there. So it was middle of the day, we drove out. Gate was open, so we pulled onto the property. If the owner was there, she knew me. I would have said hi, and just asked how she was doing. But we walked around the property, and when we walked over to in front of the barn, on the ground there was, I would presume, animal bones and everything on the ground. It was all in a circle with stones and other bones, and then there's 2 metal spears right in the middle, like at an angle, stabbed into the ground. We saw that, and we were like, okay,
That sounds
I don't really
almost-
want to dive into it, you know?
Sounds almost like a ritual to me.
Yeah.
That sounds more, I mean, let's say a worshiper, they do this type of rituals, they do offerings to wherever they want to offer it to. I mean, that's kind of what the bones in the circle
Yeah.
kind of to me signify.
That's what we were thinking too, so we bailed. We didn't want to
Right.
dive in, you know. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's, when it gets that dark of a case, you kind of got to proceed with caution for your own safety and the safety of others, because you don't know what you're up against. If it's a force that's that dark and manipulative, that it can do things that we can't defend against, we always, like I said, want to make sure our safety is first and foremost taken care of, because if you get what you ask for, I mean, on some of these things, we call things out, it responds to us. So if we're calling something dark that we're unaware of, we're going to summon something we don't want possibly. So in your guys' best mind, or your best, whatever you want to call it, what do you think makes up a demonic haunting? Okay, that's me. Sorry, that one's me.
An evil being.
Okay.
And it can either take possession, or it can be annoying, or.
Sure. Right.
Could be, but I don't know.
Anything?
For me, with the things that I've encountered, which have only been a handful of things,
Right.
and each one is as individual as even a person. You have some that just want to make you miserable, and then others that are somewhat impish.
Right.
And I think it depends on the character of that particular demonic entity.
Sure.
And yeah, they will, depending on how aggressive they are. Their job is to make humanity miserable.
Right.
So, if they can possess somebody, depending on the weakness of their mind or their beliefs or lack of, then yeah, they're going to do it because it's going to give them pleasure.
Right.
That's what they live for. So, I do think the haunting depends on, like I said, the individual that's carrying it out.
Sure.
So
Right.
that's my take on it.
Right. Yeah, and those are all valid points. Just you want to add anything to it?
when I think of demonic haunting, possession, all that, I always take it, in my mind, I immediately start thinking, on biblical terms, like it's
Right.
it's on that edge and teetering on that, on the good and the bad,
Sure.
And it's that battle between the two.
Good.
Do we
Sorry.
have any problems?
I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and it was
We still good?
you all good on your end?
Everything's fine on mine.
Sounds
We
good.
have something on here. Sorry, on the screen I can tell.
But
It
I
was
always
on the
just
screen.
think about
It's just spinning.
I just think about
Like we're frozen. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry,
Sorry,
Keep
that's right.
talking. I apologize.
no, I just think about from the exorcisms and everything that you read about to what we're going to talk about tonight too. That's just what flashes in my head when I think of demonic. It's not going to be good for anybody who's involved, and it could be dangerous. It could be life-threatening. For some, it all depends on how they proceed and how they go about doing everything with it.
Okay, that's interesting. To the viewers at home, I'm getting word that some of the video is a little choppy again. I don't know what's going on. I noticed it on our screens that it's doing a weird thing. Let me try something real quick
It
here.
seems to be working fine.
Through the phone is going for it?
Yeah.
I'm getting worse. Let me try something real quick here. Well, like I said, what you guys all said, we're gonna continue, and hopefully it comes back up for viewers at home. I apologize. This is the first time I've done this in a long time. Who knows what's going on? Maybe the subject matter, what we're talking about, the ghosts here don't like it. Who knows? We'll find out, I guess. So if that's you doing this, Ghost, please stop that. We need to get this podcast going. But all the stuff you guys said is true, yes. You got your manipulative being that's going to take over people's mind. They're going to try to, control people.
We just have to talk about it.
Yeah. Things that I've always noticed in kind of research is they always give a distinct smell. People describe it as being like a sulfuric smell, kind of a real pungent odor that's just, you know it when you smell it. So that's one thing. And we're down.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
No, we're still
What's
going
that
on
one
there.
saying?
Just on here again.
Okay. I'll come back in a second to fix that. So basically, like I said, there's a smell. There's the odd noises and occurrences. I mean, you'll hear the unusual bangs that there's a purpose behind those bangs. You'll hear just noises that you can't describe. Growling sometimes happens a lot of the time.
Sometimes the air will feel different.
Yeah.
The air will feel thick or heavy.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
so it can change the way the atmosphere
definitely.
feels.
Keep going.
We gotta talk louder. We gotta talk as loud as we can so everyone can
See
hear
if
us.
I can figure
Just
out
have
what's
a
going on.
hard time hearing anybody on audio.
Okay.
I think we're okay. It looks like. Keep going. Sorry.
Stupid technical difficulties.
Yeah.
With, I blame the building actually.
And I hope it's the subject matter. I honestly do. I hope we struck a nerve with the people that's here. I mean, because where we're at, we don't even know 100% what's here. We've been here, gosh, multiple times, and it's
Over the last year and a half, at least.
doing it again. I can tell on the screen.
Yeah.
So we know there's some good things and not necessarily bad things here. Just some things that happen to show up when it wants to and makes itself known. Let's see here. What else we got here? Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here with this distractions. Here's all these technical
That's
difficulties.
okay.
People see, especially when they have, one thing they always try to do when they have a bad haunting, they always want to come in and have somebody cleanse their home, bless their home, which sometimes helps. Sometimes it can do more harm than good. If you do decide to go that route, make sure you seek a professional help. Don't just basically go to the hardware store, pick up some sage yourself, and start burning away. Because, like I said, if you don't know what you're trying to ward off, you may cause doing more damage than normal than you expect. So, on our team, we have a couple of ordained ministers that do carry out such practices for you. So if you ever need help, please let us know. Private message us, email us, call us directly. Let us know that you need that type of help, and we'll definitely come in free of charge. We don't charge for stuff like that. That's not what we're here. We're not here to make the money. We're here to help clients such as yourselves. What's over there? One thing I noticed too is people always see religious artifacts as symbolic in demonic cases. They always seem to think, oh, the cross on the wall all of a sudden got thrown, is upside down now. If you do know anything about especially Catholicism, St. Peter actually asked to be crucified upside down because he thought he wasn't worthy enough of Jesus dying on the cross that he said, they're going to crucify me too, get it upside down. So that kind of gives, as far as being demonic, upside down cross necessarily doesn't mean that. But it could. I know it's supposed to represent that, just like the same thing like the pentagram. And, that's technically, not a, it's more of a pagan, I think, if I remember right.
Well, people like to turn every symbol into what they want it to be.
Right, demonic or,
Demonic
satanic.
or, yeah.
Yeah.
Any kind of thing.
Right.
Well, and you have to think of the history of the land.
Mhm.
I had read a case recently in the northeastern part of the U.S.
Mhm.
where homes had been built on what at one point was a Jewish cemetery.
Right.
Well, nobody had moved the bodies, so you had all these graves there that they built new homes on. And one particular family was, they said was a Catholic family, and these things kept happening, especially during, like Easter and Christmas and things like that. They'd have these things happen, and they thought, oh my gosh, and so they said, okay, you need to do more things with your religion, sprinkle holy water, say these prayers, and And it seemed like when they did that, it escalated. Well, once they did, you know, a background and a history, and they said, wait a second, you know, the cemetery was Jewish. So it wasn't that it was demonic.
Right.
It was that what was there was of the Jewish faith.
Sure.
So they had some people come in and help them, and they had prayers that were more neutral, that were both, because of course, you know, Jesus was a Jew, and of course that carried on to Catholicism.
Sure.
So you do have that overlapping, the overlapping faith, you know, Old Testament rituals and things like that. So they did some of that, and it actually calmed things down because, you know, it was a Jewish spirit that was in there rather than a Catholic one.
Right.
So it's, you know, wasn't going to like the crosses that were hanging up. It wasn't going to like the certain traditions or rituals that Catholicism would have, because it would be, I mean, they believed that Jesus was a prophet, but he was not the Son of God.
Right.
So, of course, that, you know, created a whole lot of problems for them, and the more they tried to do things that were of Christianity, the worse it got. Now, it wasn't that it was demonic, it was that it was a different religion.
Sure.
So that is something
Right.
that's, you know, it's always good to do your research on, you know, what was there before.
Right.
What was it Christian? Was it Native American? Was it, you know, Muslim or, you know, Islamic or Jewish? You have all those other different faiths that don't always coincide with Christianity. And if you have that entity in that building that's just like, oh, that is not my belief, and I'm not having that in a dwelling that used to be mine, they're going to, you know, act up.
Right. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier when we first started to the podcast tonight, that basically, I'm talking about the train of thought, dang it.
Old age.
No, well, I mean, like, well, just for instance, like the sage thing, if you don't know what you're, like I said, warding off, you're going to basically be wasting your time. If it's a Native American spirit and you're going about it as different demonic, it doesn't necessarily intermix, so.
Well, and you have other things that will actually trap things inside.
Right.
They have some, I believe it's an Indian religion, where you have mirrors, so they won't cross a mirror.
Right.
So depending on where you have that mirror, if it's already in there, it can't leave. The other thing is salt. You're going to go around salting everything, then whatever's in there is going to stay in there. It's not going to cross that salt.
Feel assaulted.
So you want to assault.
Hashtag salty.
So you want to make sure that, you know, what you're doing is going to clean it out, and then you're not keeping anything in there. You know, it's like trapping the bear in with you.
Right.
You know, you don't want to do
I'm
that.
really sorry for this.
Okay. You see a big purple thing on the screen? You may not. It's not on the camera. Max is adjusting it. Oh, now he just did it. It's delayed on our camera.
I can't figure out why this side is blurry and
We're
this
just
side
having
is...
issues, all sorts of issues. Sorry tonight, guys. Like I said, I really hope it's to the topic. It's a sensitive one. I mean, like I said, it's one I've been waiting to do for a while. I think it kind of ties over from last week, the whole religious talk, because, you know, I mean, hey, if you have a demon fighting a religious... Sorry, I'm seeing shit.
No, it's not like a balloon outside.
Go ahead, take over, sorry.
But no, we're getting distracted too much here.
It sucks, but...
No, with the aspect of some of our cases where it's affected us,
right.
which may have been even as of recently.
Right.
You know, that's probably my first time where I've ever actually felt like possibly it affected me going and leaving that case.
Right.
And so it was, you know, I don't know. It's one of those things where I've never felt like I had to worry about anything. I don't know if that was just my state of mind going into cases. You know, if I don't allow it to bother me, but if you tend to let your guard down and open yourself up to, and emotionally for the family at that house or the location that you're dealing with, maybe it does. Maybe it can, and mess with you. I mean, I know there's been certain times where you've gotten really ill, especially at that house at the farmhouse. You know,
Right.
the farmhouse.
Right.
I remember that night where you did not feel well. call. And it was after we were upstairs and we were hearing the voices coming through the ghost box.
Right.
It was right after that you did not feel well.
Right. I mean, that's a good reminder, especially on all investigations. Like I said, you got to be on all guard. You kind of keep your guard up. I mean, because you may not feel it happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening to you. I mean, some of us have found out recently with just some events we've experienced and things like that nature. And it may be how sometimes demonic hauntings overtake people in their own home because they don't really think of it. Well, the odd noise I heard tonight, it's just the air conditioner kicking on or whatever, or it's just the the ducts expanding, whatever, that kind of thing. And maybe it is. Oh, hopefully it is, because if it goes to the next level where it's something that you can't, it's out of control.
Right.
You can't control. Maybe we can't control as easily without taking the proper steps. I mean, how are you supposed to defend against that? You can't, mentally, physically, and it wears and tears on you. Kind of some of the myths I kind of want to go over with is the dark shadows, the red dots. Everybody assumes because I see a dark shadow, I see some red dots and maybe it might be eyes. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world, call local priests, get out here, do exorcism, do whatever you gotta do. I've been in cases where I've seen plenty of dark shadows. In churches, nothing. I mean, nothing demonic, nothing. Yes, there were some dark things there, but it necessarily didn't stem from that particular shadow we saw. It might just be how that image, that entity, its energy is showing. Maybe they had a bad life. Maybe they died a violent death. I don't know. I don't know what gives it a dark shadow versus a white gray mist or a full body apparition. I don't know what classifies that.
But it does freak people out.
Oh, sure.
I mean, seeing something like that. I got a phone call. I got a phone call probably like 3-4 years ago. She's not, she wasn't in town, but
Sure.
she was living here in Kansas, and she heard about our group. She wanted to talk to somebody. She was saying that she was seeing a shadow in her home. She said, my home is small, but I'm seeing a shadow move around, and her dog was seeing it, was growling at it, and she said that her and her dog were sitting on the couch. The dog started looking off to her left and was growling, and there's a doorway right there that leads to the hallway, and she said she turned to look just in time to see a head and shoulders of a shadow peeking around the corner looking at her.
Right.
So she automatically was just frantic on the phone with me. She was panicked about what is this? She's like, I'm a strong Catholic. I do not believe in this, but here it is looking at me. What do I do? And she really, by the sound of her voice, she really thought this was the end.
Sure.
This was the end for her. That
Right.
this was some evil entity coming into it, and it may not have been.
Right.
I mean, we've been in cases like even here in this building where we've seen shadows moving about. I think just about every one of us have seen that here.
Right.
Seen it, heard it moving. You can hear the shuffling of the feet.
Things being thrown.
But I wasn't able to ever. I'd like to say that I could have helped her. I tried to talk her through it a little bit. She didn't want us to come out or anything like that.
Right.
So I don't know what happened, honestly, with that. But those are cases where, when people see these things and they immediately panic. And then their brain just starts really focusing on just, oh my God, this is it. This is evil. This is going to be the end of my life, or how it's going to go. I mean, it's just,
Right.
all the paranormal just freaks a lot of people out.
It does. I mean, well, it's something that you may or may not have been raised to believe in, or it may be something that's kind of hard to believe in. I mean,
Especially if it's brand new. I mean,
Yeah,
you've never
out of
dealt with
nowhere.
it before, and now you are.
right.
So
Well, and
Go ahead, sorry.
it's also unpredictable. I mean, because
Sure.
you don't know. I mean, you see this thing there, and you don't know if it's good or bad, and anything that's in your home that you haven't invited is going to seem bad to you.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
It's not normal.
it's not
It's not your normal, should I say?
Exactly, but and it isn't. I mean, paranormal is such, you know, it's outside the box.
Right.
There's very few people that, you know, you have, you know, more people now that believe in it than used to. You have religions that are against it.
Of course.
And then it's not comfortable. It is the unknown. I mean, you don't have a textbook where you can go, oh, okay, well, this is it. I mean, you have some things, but not everything is something that is a documented fact. And that's what the challenge is also of, like, you know, teens, is that you are trying to put a fact to something that is unknown. You know, it's an uncharted territory.
Right.
That's what we hope for, you know, try to find answers. You know, I mean, that's what we want to do is help people. But I mean, I don't know. It's just a weird area to talk about when it goes to, like, the darker side of things.
Well, I mean, from my encounters, they haven't always been bad.
Right.
I had one in my home, a shadow, and the person that I was with, it intimidated them greatly. And I'm like, doesn't that bother you? Well, it didn't bother me because
Right.
it wasn't, I mean, it didn't have, it was just watching. It was just a watcher. It looked like it was trying to, you know, keep certain people safe in the house. It
Right.
didn't particularly care for the person that, the other person that, you know, so perhaps it was giving off those bad vibes to that particular person. But, so I guess it depends on who and what they are, what their motive is as to being there, as to whether they're good or bad. It could be, you know, a relative that just wants to look in on you or has concern for you, all the way to someone who's just curious, passing through, trying to spend time before they go on to whatever their next mission is, or what have you.
Right.
Well, what I read is demonic hauntings are few. They're
There.
not,
Yeah.
so, you know, they're just not that
Not
prevalent.
common. Yeah.
So
Right.
it's different than maybe a malevolent spirit or just.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what we've always felt and kind of researched, and the same thing too. There, I mean, if you go back in history, I'm not gonna put a number on it because there's probably more than I even know, but I've read about. But like I said, most times because you're having the pushing, the noises, the throwing of things,
Right.
it's just a different type of haunting. It's hard to classify all hauntings under one category because they may show one, none, or many different signs of things. Like I said, we've been in cases where we thought it was just a simple haunting, and it was, oh, you know, they taking things, moving things, and then we found out it was a poltergeist. So, I mean, it's like, okay. It made sense in the very end, and then once we discovered it, it shut us out after that. We never got a chance to go back in there again. So, I mean...
Do you ever think that it may not be anything to do with demons, that it's more medical? Epilepsy, somebody just having seizures, that's having, like, actual injuries to their brain,
Right.
stuff like that, you know, because a lot of doctors will even treat patients
Yeah.
that are seeing things, hearing things, you know, and they all rule it as a medical condition.
Right. One of the famous cases we'll talk about here in a little while, there's a couple of them, one of them did suffer from epileptic seizures from after an accident.
Taking medicine for
Yeah.
bipolar.
Um,
One case was like that too.
Right.
Multiple medications.
Yep. Which brings up a great point. Now, back in the days before, and this case kind of revolves around some, I won't touch base on it just quite yet, but they performed an exorcism on this person, we're going to talk about later on. And now, to get an exorcism, well, let me phrase that, from the Catholic Church, to get an exorcism done, the rule changed in 1999. You have to physically go see multiple doctors to make sure it's not a mental case, make sure it's not a physical, like such as epilepsy.
So get
It has to
medically
get
cleared.
all cleared first, and okay, and if they can say there's nothing physical, we can determine what's wrong with you, then maybe we'll look at possession, and then we'll go in and maybe start doing the exorcism rites. Because of what happened with this particular case, we'll talk about here shortly, not soon enough, but they went a different route, and it created a big stir, and it got a lot of people in trouble, basically. So now there's certain guidelines people must follow in order to do exorcism. It's not your typical, hey, I'm possessed, cure me kind of thing.
Can you clarify who's doing the exorcism?
Well, it depends. It's based upon your religion. There's different types. When I was looking at it last week or a couple weeks ago, I can't remember which week it was. There's multiple people that do exorcism. To me, when I think exorcism, I think Catholic Church, which they do, of course. But there's also, I've seen reading about it, there's some that the Hindu religion does them, the Muslim religion does them, which surprised the hell out of me, because, I don't want to talk about religion too much when it comes to that, especially.
It was last week.
Yeah, but they have a different belief system than we obviously do. But the one I'm talking about in particular is Catholic. But like I said, it has to go, now after they go through has to go to the Vatican, basically. They believe in it, but they say, for us to say, to sign off on this, you have to go through these checklists first with the doctors, the, psychiatrists, to make sure you're not just playing crazy or, making stuff up, or, you have like Jason said, part of your brain, having epileptic seizures, or whatever, a tumor, whatever it could be, They want to make sure that you're tested thoroughly before they even decide, okay, we know this is not what, this could be something we think you're claiming it to be, possibly possession by a demon or something, so. And then they start, like I said, doing all the rites. It's called, I thought it was kind of interesting, I was reading about it earlier. It's called a sacramental rite, but it's not considered a sacrament. Like, your sacraments are like weddings, baptism, that kind of nature. It's still considered sacramental, which I kind of thought that was interesting. I don't know what makes it different, what determines, what's sacrament, what's not. But it's still part of, they believe it strongly enough that they will do the exorcism. But it has to come from the higher ups, it has to go through a longer, it's supposed to. Don't tell me, I'm not going to tell you that that's 100% they're that way every time. There may be people around here that say, hey, I'm a priest of a certain nature, I'll go do it right now, today, That's up to them.
So kind of like an application process, perhaps?
Eventually, now serving number 666, coming to see us, so it could very well be. I mean, if it gets that far into it, then they will consider exorcism, then it must be pretty severe, I guess. Like I said, it's very far and few. I mean, some people are just plain nuts. Some people are just, it is what it is. Some people are just want to believe it strongly that maybe they're projecting it. I mean, that's called what it's not free will, but it's where it is where you can make things
It's
happen.
believing enough and thinking too much into it that it actually starts to manifest and occur.
Yeah. I mean, that's been known to happen.
But also, exorcisms, it's not just a one-time thing.
Right.
No,
It's something
no.
that they are there like so many days a week or so many,
Yeah.
it's over multiple times. It's not
Right.
something that's going to be
Yeah.
cured overnight or in one visit.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll talk about some of those tonight where they took as little as 2 days to years. And some of them helped, some of them didn't help. I mean, there's some great demonic cases out there that, when we play some of the audio and video tonight, as you read that disclaimer earlier today, or heard that disclaimer from me earlier, there are going to be some pretty graphic and horrific things we're going to show you. Not so much this imagery, it's the sounds, the noises, the videos themselves. It's just, it'll make, like I said, it'll make the hair on the back of your neck stand up, because it's just like, what am I listening to? So that's why we're kind of saving it for the last hour, because they're going to be, and then we'll talk fast about that, and we'll go, this is where Jason and I will definitely open up and get crazy on our talks, because we have these talks off camera all the time about these cases in particular, so they're kind of fun for us. But some of the other stuff I was reading right here, like, we don't think about it, is it says you come home and your house or your room might be ransacked by an unknown force. They're making themselves known some way, shape, or form, and this is one way they like to do it. I don't know what the purpose of it is, but I think it's struck my home a couple times, because I come home and my sons have torn my house up, so I think they're possessed at times. No, I'm just teasing. But they said there's also, you come home and you see writing on the walls, like symbols will start showing up on your walls. There'll be words, scrawled on them. Most of the time it's in a Latin language, possibly, that you read it like, what does that look like to you? Nothing, just a bunch of gibberish, but it means something to some place. Now, we've gone into another place, and we've kind of encountered this. The house in Oklahoma, our famous case we refer to constantly about because it's so many, on so many levels. It's
Took us 45 minutes when we came back to Oklahoma.
oh, I didn't talk about last week.
No, we didn't.
I wanted to, but I didn't. We experienced where they had symbols drawn on the doors, on the walls. There's a couple. The writing itself was, it looked like a bunch of gibberish. Really, would look like it looked like a bunch of upside down M's with loops, Y's, and stuff like that. We looked into it. We dove into it. It's a writing called Theban. Sorry, Thebian. It's kind of an ancient writing. It's also Theban writing kind of crosses over into satanic writing also too. So or even the voodoo, they all kind of blend in together and overlap each other because some of the symbols are similar, some of the words are similar. We decipher what it said. It said blame, and I'm not gonna say the name. It's a demonic entity. One thing, like I've talked about with these guys, you never want to say the demonic name because it's a way of inviting it. Hey, I know who you are. Now welcome to my life, to my house, whatever. So you just try to avoid from all costs to not do that if you can. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say because I remember there at the farmhouse
Mm-hmm.
with the ghost box, and you were asking, we were asking while we were upstairs in that bedroom,
Right.
who's with us, can you? And it rattled off a few names.
Yeah.
And I just remember your reaction of shaking your head and going, "Oh, okay, I don't want to push this anymore," because you were like, I kind of recognize some of those names.
Right.
So
They're not your
that's the
common
first.
household members.
That's the first time I ever was around anything where we may have been encountering something like that.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to give them any more accolades than they really want. That's what they want. They want to feed off you. They want to basically, they want to manifest through your energy, like your fear, your emotions, your anger. I mean, that's what they like. They being the demons. They want to be able to feed off of that, and it puts big smiles on their faces in a manner of speaking. It's what they are. They want to cause as much havoc on Earth as possible. I mean, and they do a damn good job of it, unfortunately. Like I said, yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's touchy
I
subject.
agree with that 100%. That's what they get pleasure out of.
Yeah.
Is making misery, and they're gonna feed off of that. If they can provoke that out of you, then they've done their job.
Right. Exactly.
So I have to ask that place in Oklahoma, was it the occupant that put those symbols up there, or was it something that was manifesting in that dwelling?
With that particular case, a couple things. After doing much research, after doing much research on it and talking to the occupants, found out they were doing some things. They were trying to translate something into American or English language, and we don't know. They won't tell us. Well, the person we're talking about won't tell us specifically what he was trying to. Well, we know what he was trying to do. We don't know if what was on the walls and it was on every window, every wall, any point of entrance you could think of. It was covering up underneath it, on the side of it, on top of it, whatever.
And that was in the decrepit house.
No.
So that's
is
right.
the
That was
living
in
house.
the house he was actually
Right.
living in.
This is the house that had the voodoo doll in it also too.
Yeah.
That was the main living house. That had the.
Which we have photographs of the
Yeah.
doll.
I have photographs of the writings too. I have it written down what it says. Basically, they had all kinds of metaphysical things in the house. That you open up the cabinets, there'll be bottles of this, bottles of that, every which way. It's a weird case in itself. I mean, like I said, without living it, not having gone through it, I would never believe half the stuff I would read in print, basically. But they put it on there. My rule of think, what my thought was behind it is that either they were trying to conjure something up, so they put these symbols on it to welcome it, or they did something they didn't want, and they were trying to keep something out. That's my personal belief. I cannot confirm it, and they haven't denied it. They haven't confirmed it. The occupant, unfortunately, who was doing this, there's two of them. One of them is deathly ill. Another one won't speak with us. It's a weird case. I mean, you see me kind of change my mood a little bit because it's kind of an emotional one for us. It's a roller coaster because it's affected all of us on a personal level, on a professional level. I mean, it's a weird case. And we've gone through some ups and downs the last, I don't know, I can't remember the first time we were out there. It's been about 4 years ago, probably.
First time?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, I think.
It's about,
So,
geez, what, wasn't it 2011, 2012?
yeah. It's been a long ride. It's been an interesting one. It's been a fun one. It's been a scary one. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's the only place I've been that really gave me, the first time I went there, maybe, it didn't scare me. It just kept me on guard all night, basically.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, it's just, we think it was because one of two things. They were conjuring something up or they were keeping something out. I knew they were trying to do something, and then I don't think what they were trying to get started to come true. So it scared the crap out of them because another thing too, shortly afterwards, one of them found God, and it was too late at that point. So I mean, it's a weird case, but
Because it's two houses on the same property, out in the woods, out in the
mountains.
basically,
Right.
in Oklahoma, and just years and years of things happening, and who knows what they've both done, and who they brought in, friend-wise and stuff like that. I mean,
And it's not just them, yeah. It's just
Yeah.
people that, like you said, people they invited over to stay with them, live in the houses throughout the years, because they did it. They experienced stuff as a kid, and now they're in their 60s. So I mean, this has been going on for decades.
one brother, I remember one story of him saying, in the house growing up, he actually felt something jump on top of him and was trying to put a lot of pressure on him, was holding him down, and when he was able, he couldn't see anything, but he could feel his whole body being pressed down, and when he reached up, he actually felt like a cold rubbery feel almost of what he was feeling that was on top of him, but he could not see what it was. Yes, sir.
In that case, wasn't there multiple reports of people being affected mentally, as in they ended up going to mental institutions and also trying suicides and death on that land as well?
Suicide possibly, not mental institution necessarily. It was more physical, like they had to go to the hospital because of what the land has done to them over time. I mean,
They were being physically hit and attacked.
and sexually assaulted and things of that nature. I mean, and what are you doing when you can't see what's attacking you in whatever shape or form? I mean, how you kind of goes into demonic cases. I mean, how can you defend against something you can't physically see or you can't defend yourself against?
That's a mental toll on you too,
Yeah.
because you don't know what's going on and how do you even talk to anybody about it.
Right. And that's like we talked a minute ago, like 5 minutes ago. That's what the demons want. They want to prey on your weaknesses. They want to feed off that negative energy. They want to just it only makes them stronger, and it makes that harder to ward off, basically. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's a case that every paranormal investigator you probably thinks they want to cross at some point, a demonic case, but when it comes down to it, I mean, you're getting more, you're gonna bite off more than you can chew. I mean,
It's like, do we want to go back? Absolutely.
always.
Do we ever know what we're going to get into? No, we don't.
Right.
Just because of everything that we've been told and everything we've witnessed over the 4 or 5 trips that we've had out there. It just keeps changing every time
Right.
with what happens or what's seen out there. And like what Michelle was saying earlier before the show, how it just appeared darker out there at night. There would be no clouds, perfect sky above us, but it just seemed very dark on the land itself.
Yeah.
You get out, you guys slept out in the car, and you get out, and you said it was just, you couldn't even see Paula.
No, she
Yeah,
dropped
hard.
a blanket on the ground, right, she couldn't find it.
It was just it has a very weird atmosphere to it
Yeah.
out there. that you feel at the moment you turn on the dirt road and head down toward that area. You just get this weird feel. I know I did.
I
Of
think
course,
we
you
all
know, I mean, I also think of like psycho killer things, you know, in my head.
You
when
start hearing
I watch-
banjos.
that's what my first thought. I'm always like, where's banjos? You know?
Yeah, always. Yeah, and like I said, the way I describe that land is when you first walk out, like Jason was talking about, you feel it on you. You feel like there was all eyes on you right away, and it doesn't make any sense because you know you're letting people out there, well, within so many distance. But yet you still feel like you get a sense of being watched. It's everything you do is scrutinized, or I don't know. It's weird.
Right.
Yeah.
So was there was another house that the team investigated back in April.
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever any determination, did the team make a determination as to what that was that
Yeah.
they were encountering?
Yeah. When we were going through the investigation, at first it felt like it could have been a demonic case. After much deliberation, and Jeremiah and I, we kind of just discussed it more. We think it wasn't demonic. We think it was more what they call elemental, which means it's of the earth. It's one of those ones where it tends to deal with, I mean, it is what it is, elements. It's fire, wind, air, water, you name it, but it comes from the earth. It's a spirit that's not going to change its behavior. It's not going to go away no matter what we do. It's always going to be there. So why it's picked that particular location, who knows? I mean, something probably opened its way up into that. I mean, something let it in, maybe, or maybe it's there because it wants to be there. Who knows?
Maybe attach yourself to the owner of the house.
Could have been, but like I said, nothing we're gonna do is gonna change its behavior. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be the way it is, dark, whatever, happy, light, whatever. I mean, it's gonna be the way it is. We can't affect it. I know you were there part of it, and you ended up leaving. You
Yeah.
missed the most interesting part of it to me, aside from the things that went on while you were there. The whole manipulation of the phone thing. Did you ever watch the video of that?
I haven't, but I also have my own opinions,
Sure.
which are, I think, a
Right.
little bit different
Right.
from yours and Jeremiah's.
Right.
But I do respect your
No, that's fine.
opinions.
Right.
But I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, it manipulated our equipment. We were doing a ghost box session, trying to get it to talk to us, and I asked, for some reason it popped in my head, I was like, well, are you a demon? So no, I decided to ask that. And we could hear some stuff, we heard some growling, we heard some whatever, and all of a sudden, the phone, we were using one of our apps on our phone that does ghost box, and it was on Jeremiah's phone. All of a sudden the thing just,
And
Flip screen.
no one was touching the
It
phone.
was
It was
sitting
sitting
stationary.
still, and he was videotaping it.
right, I had a camera on it, Jeremiah had his camera on it, I was Facebook lighting at the time. This thing turns the screen, starts typing on it, and it says maybe, maybe not. It answered us, and it's just like, what the hell?
I didn't even know you could even text through that app.
And Jeremiah said it wasn't. No, Jeremiah said that's through his Google,
Oh,
whatever thing is, voice activation thing, whatever on there.
right.
This thing was talking through his phone, not using the app, but it was communicating with us, saying, maybe I am a demon, maybe I'm not. But in fact, it was talking through it. And then it happened again later on, like maybe 15 minutes later. It didn't say, I can't remember what it said. It started to do it, and Jeremiah saw it and grabbed his phone right away and quit, of course. But it's all captured on there. If you go to, I think it's on Road Trip, I know it's on ALP, Everyday Legacies Facebook. If you go watch it there, you'll see it on there. I've never seen that before, personally. I mean,
You said Facebook?
yeah, Facebook
Okay.
Live, or it was on Facebook Live at the time,
Right.
but it's out there.
Watch the whole investigation from that night.
It's about the last 15 minutes of the video on Facebook from that night, 'cause at that point,
I think I pretty much watched that entire video a couple times.
things started to change, so I broke the investigation off for
Yeah.
our safety for that reason, because at the time I didn't know what we were facing, and I wanted to regroup a little bit before we came back. We just decided to call it a night at that point. But
Yeah.
the audio of it, I've listened it over. There's things talking to us during this thing going on. You can hear voices. I don't know. It's not even on the video necessarily. It's just in the audio we captured that you guys have not heard yet, all of you guys, just because I haven't played it for you guys yet. Because we were supposed to go back and do the reveal, and the guys just quit talking to us. He's disappeared off the face of the earth. We don't know what happened. Is that part of the case? tell me.
It's not from a lack of trying to
Yeah.
reach out to the guy, but
Right.
just it's never happened. So
Yep.
you know, because we always try to do a reveal, even if it does take us a while to get there. But we want to go over all the evidence to make sure that you're getting, you know,
Yeah.
I say your money's worth. We're free to do it, but
Right.
you know, we want to give you everything that we capture and make sure that we are hearing what we are hearing. So
Right. Wow, that was a quick first hour.
is it?
Very much.
So it's time for the cases.
Yeah.
You ready?
Of course, I'm ready.
All right.
This is the part, like I said, I'll throw that disclaimer up there again. Basically, like I said, if it's something that it may seem troublesome to you, it may, the imagery may be a little disturbing to you, please, at this point, either turn off your feed or, you know, stick around or whatever you want to do, turn your volume down, I don't care. We're going to start just with the basic, simple, low fun one. I mean, we're not going to go deep and heavy just yet, not this one yet, quite yet.
Work us into it.
Yeah. Let's go with, I mean, everybody's favorite. Everybody's probably seen this movie throughout the years, The Exorcist. It's based upon an actual case, demonic haunting. We're going to pop up a video here. We're going to play the actual movie scene, if you would. When it gets that popped up, just give me a cue. That way I'm not going to talk. I don't think I can talk over it or not if it's going to drown me out. So,
The audio
You know.
probably won't match up very well if you try to talk it out. But
that's
I'm
what I'm
ready
going to wait.
whenever you
I was going to say. So, we're going to pop that scene up because this is one of my favorite scenes. It's kind of what everybody thinks demonic hauntings look like. It's fun
It's
for
the
me.
definition of the movie haunting of a demonic haunting.
Right. Okay. Enjoy.
Your mother's in here with his card. Would you like to leave a message? I see that she gets it.
If that's true, then you must know my mother's maiden name. What is it? What is it?
Okay. So that was the scene from the Exorcist, where everybody seems to think that's what a demonic haunting should look and feel like, you know. And it kind of does. I mean, you look at somebody who's been through a demonic haunting, and their physical features, their body, a lot of wear and tear. I mean, they look like a shell of their former selves. I mean, they're taking a physical beating because I mean they're possessed. I don't know about the vomiting thing, projectile vomiting. That was a nice little actual touch.
Pea soup vomit.
Yeah, that Hollywood wanted to put together for this movie. The thing about The Exorcist, and Jason and I love this part because I don't know if anybody's familiar with it or not. I mean, everybody's familiar with The Exorcist. The actual case wasn't a female, it was a male. For the longest time, it was one that they just called him Ronald Doe. And that throughout the years, it actually came across, and his name was actually Robbie Mannheim. He's still alive to this day. I think you have, did I get that picture?
If
You
you want it.
can pop that picture up. We'll continue to talk here. It's the one where, from the actual, during his exorcism.
Oh, so they actually have photographs.
Yes. I think Max is popping it up. You may have it on screen now. We can't see it quite yet. That one. Oh, on my screen. You're behind still. That's the actual Robbie Mannheim's case during when he was actually being exorcised. As you can see, the male. He started out in Maryland. His home was in Maryland. What started the whole thing, and if you want to talk about it, I can. It's up to you.
No, go ahead.
Okay. His aunt, he was an only child. So he hung around his aunt a lot. He has no, family, cousins, or anything like that. His aunt would, introduce him to the Ouija board. And they would try to, conjure stuff up, just playing around, having some fun. So they thought, well then, his aunt goes and dies. And weird things started happening. I mean, he was trying to still conjure, I think, talk to her, did this Ouija board, and then weird things started happening around him. Where when he walked into a building, or in the room, should I say, furniture started moving, objects started getting thrown, things would start to levitate. it was enough to where obviously his parents were freaking out, saying, "Why is what is going on? This kid's doing something. We need to seek professional help." They went through their local priest, and I think, long story short, he ended up getting moved to St. Louis. You can kind of jump in anytime. I know you're familiar with the case. Now, the actual exorcism didn't take place in the home. There is the house still standing there in St. Louis to this day. People own it.
Right.
It's been featured on Ghost Adventures. Yeah, it's famous. You can go drive by if you choose to. The previous owners that owned it, before the current owners owned it, they've said they experienced weird occurrences. The home is popping up on the screen now. That's the actual home where the actual Exorcist child lived in St. Louis. Not too far from there was a hospital they took him to. I don't remember if it was an Sallie Asylum, was it? Do you remember, or just a prison?
It was a hospital,
right?
but they had I believe a psychiatric ward.
Yeah,
so
that's what it was.
So.
And they basically did. I want to say was it 14 actual exorcisms on him. During this, I think it was 14. No, he was 14 at the time. I'm sorry. But during the exorcism itself, 48 people took witness, including 9 Jesuit priests. And the last Jesuit priest died about a year ago, I think it was, or 2. After they started doing the exorcism, they would never talk about it. People would ask, "What happened?" What they wanted to know, what went on during this whole exorcism. Nobody would talk about it. The last priest, like I said, died about a year ago. He, up to his grave, would still not talk about what happened during that whole exorcism. The book itself was written based upon that case, and eventually Hollywood got wind of it, made a movie out of it. The actual exorcism happened in 1949. I think that's when it first started happening. He was 14 years old. It's just one of those weird cases. It's a fact. It's a true story. There's no refuting it.
Hollywood took their own advantages of it and used it as a female, so they could change it how they want to.
Right.
So there's no spider walk down the stairs or
It's
anything
my
like
favorite
that.
part.
Yeah.
That's everyone's favorite part of the movie. When she walks you know what that story is, right? The spider walk.
When she walks upside down, backwards down the stairs.
Her arms are all like this, and she's running down, and her head's all.
It's a great image. Don't get me wrong. I'll go on record. This is the only movie in history that scared the shit out of me. But I was 7 years old when I saw it at a friend's house, and my parents probably didn't know I was watching it. So my parents are great people. They didn't know I was watching it, but I watched it, and I came home scared out of my damn mind. So the whole twisting of the head going around, and just
that movie pretty much ruined her career up until here recently.
Yeah.
Well, it affected her psychologically too. I think she had stuff that she took away from it that pretty much. Yeah, it wasn't pretty for her.
Right.
I'm talking about Linda Blair, of course.
Yeah.
It has one of my favorite sayings: "The power of Christ compels you." I tell Jeremiah that all the time when I'm messing with him because he's the big ogre behind the scenes most nights. But no, it's a crazy case. It's a factual case that happened. It was. This is in the 40s. We're talking. It's not like it was yesterday. In modern day time. It was. A lot of these cases were old. It's crazy. There's some that date back to the 1900s that I've seen. 1912, I think it was, one of them I saw.
Renee's telling on you.
What's she saying?
That she's telling on you.
I see now. Anybody want to add to that as far as your guys? I think you guys probably all seen the movie, I imagine, at this point. It's been out for a few years.
See, and I haven't.
Oh, really?
I haven't, and I
She doesn't
won't.
watch this stuff.
I have it will draw things
Right.
for me.
No, I get it.
And I don't want that.
Right.
I've had other people that have watched things in my home after I told them not to, and then while I was out, they did anyway, and then we have occurrences happening, and they're like, "Why is this happening?" And I'm like, "Because you brought that in here, didn't you?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, how do we get rid of this?" And I'm just like, "Well, depending on what it is." At that point, it was just a matter of waiting it out, and I felt that person kind of deserved to have those things happen because it's kind of like, you have rules for a reason. It's just like,
right.
And to me, it's like I'm not against other people watching them. If you're not someone who's affected by them, and it's not, but I I am.
Going back to rules and stuff, you know, I mean, it all started with a Ouija board that they were using at his home. I mean, it kind of started from that point, right?
Right.
So it's one of those things, if you don't know how to use something, you know, do you do it for fun? Because a lot of people love to dive in with those Ouija boards all for fun, and they don't know the aspect of what they could be bringing in. Regardless of it being Parker Brothers or anything like that, it's... Yes, sir?
I don't mean to interrupt you. I just found an interesting fact by somebody who's viewing
Yes.
us.
Go ahead.
Right.
The spider walk was not in the original cut of the film.
Right, it wasn't. It was when they introduced the movie into theaters again.
It was
That's where I
released,
took a buddy of mine because he'd never seen it, and I'm like, "Oh, let's go see The Exorcist," because I knew it was a new director's cut and it had all
That's
the
right.
scenes in it. So that's when they put the spider walk. Oh, you know, seeing that for the
Right.
first time.
That's
was-
amazing.
But the one we put earlier, that was in the original
Yeah,
one. So was
yeah.
the head spinning and
Yeah.
the famous crucifix scene that was
Which you can go to the
Crazy.
Halloween store and get a lifelike size
right.
animatronic doll,
Yeah.
or not doll, but it's life size
It's Jason's
of her. Yeah, it's my size. Of her sitting in a chair,
It is.
and her head spins around and lights up and screams.
No pea
and-
soup.
No, it doesn't vomit.
Mm.
But it looks like it's all kind of on her though. so
Right,
it's-
right.
Yeah.
It's
wow.
post-vomit.
That's right.
So if you have trouble figuring out Christmas gifts, you know.
There you go.
Just get a Linda Blair to sit on her doorstep.
They've got a lot at the Halloween store, I tell you.
I don't like the jumping spiders, the things that are like,
Yeah,
look
I'll
like they're-
stay away from spiders.
We got enough running around here anyways, right,
Yeah.
Paula?
Yes.
They seem to migrate towards Paula behind the scenes. She
Does
likes.
he make fun of you for it too?
She loves spiders.
But yeah, back to
She has
the.
a spider dance, by the way.
Yeah,
so
she
I'll throw that
has a
out
spider
there.
dance.
Get back to the
That's
thing.
But you know, a lot of people do not know to not do the Ouija board, especially if you do not know what you're doing with it.
Right.
Case in point, I'll just throw this out there because I don't care if they're watching. But just a group of people that we had a live event, and they brought a
Oh,
Ouija board
Yeah, right.
to our live event, and they were like up in their room using it and stuff. And it was later on where the manager
Mm-hmm.
said, you know, it was like a year or so later, it was like, you know, there's a Ouija board in our main lobby now, and we'd like to get rid of it, but yet we feel like there's something going on around here with it because people have come in and used it.
Right.
So they're wanting us to kind of try and get it out of the building because
Right.
no one there really wanted to touch it. But
Right. Well, you shouldn't. I mean, like I said, it's like some of the tools we use. It can do its trick. I mean, do its job, whatever. It's there to summon something. You're opening that portal to
Right.
everything coming through. So whether you want, you know, the sweet old grandma to come through that you miss dearly, you could get grandma. Plus, you could get, you know, who knows what. I mean,
or you get somebody who thinks they are grandma and
Portray
tries to
grandma.
manipulate you.
I would like to actually tell a story about that,
go ahead.
if you don't
About my
mind.
grandma? How dare you?
Yeah. Well, listen, my grandma was
Oh,
great.
okay. Go ahead.
No, so I was previously married back in my younger days, young and dumb, and I decided that me, my stepchild, and a couple friends, we were going to have a slumber party of sorts and play with the Ouija board. So four of us sat around asking questions. You're moving it. No, you're moving it. Oh, nothing's happening. Back and forth for a couple hours. And one of the last questions somebody asked was, who here is going to die first? Which I thought was pretty
So it was a
morbid.
popular question.
Yeah. And it said me. And I was like, oh yeah, how? And it spelled out fire. So it said, okay, who's going to kill me by fire? And it actually spelled out my ex-wife's name.
Did you get divorced right
Yeah.
there on the spot or soon after?
Funny story. So of course her child
Right.
starts flipping out, and I'm like, ha ha ha, you guys are funny. Let's shut this down, put this away. It was 2 weeks later that my wife and I separated, and a week after that she burnt down my house.
Really? Wow.
Her child at the time, probably a week before we separated, actually moved in with her father.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really talk anymore.
Wow.
So nobody that was there that night had told my wife that this is what the thing said, because we were all pretty freaked out about it. But then she burnt down my house thinking that I was inside of it. Luckily I wasn't. I was at my friend's house.
Wow.
You get that call at 6 o'clock in the morning. Hey, your place is on fire. Are you okay? Well, yeah. I answered my phone.
Obviously. Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Wow, that is crazy. Yeah, I mean, so like I said, you get what you asked for.
Right.
What were you gonna say?
And no, there's a question here on the board that going back to the Ouija board at the live event that we had. Gosh, that was like what, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after, I was told that there was a 20-year-old who was with the group at the time, and shortly after the event, she died in a car accident.
What? Can you tell me that?
She, they didn't realize, they don't know if it has any connection with the fact that they were messing with the Ouija board or anything. I don't know, but she was one of the ones in the room using it with the group and stuff. And that's the reason why, they contacted me just to kind of, I didn't know how to, what to do with it, or say. But, it's one of those things that, is it a coincidence? Is it tied to it? I don't know. But,
It goes with your beliefs. I mean, but with knowing what I know now, and I never, that's the first time I'm hearing about this.
Sorry.
I think I know what you're talking about, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, it hit me in a way that I didn't want to talk about it because that's really a sad thing, but at the same time, it happened at an event we were doing. So it's one of those things you gotta keep a watch on other people and make sure that they're all safe and not doing anything stupid at the events that we do. So
Okay.
We did have one other private home investigation where we were told that occupants had used it at a young age, and since then that they had some really strange occurrences. So again, there's another case where one was involved. Can't say that that's
Right.
what caused it, but
We had another case before any of you guys were on the team. You were on the team, but you didn't go that night for some reason. Kingman.
probably working.
I think you might have been, yeah. They use the same thing, Ouija board. If you go to our website, nothing Ouija board's on there, but that's the infamous where my name was called for the ghost walk that night.
That's right.
Which was weird because before that, to that point when it was happening, we were seeing this black, going back to the earlier topic, black shadow. It was low lying to the ground, kind of weaving its way through the hallway, coming towards us at that time. And I think you can kind of hear us talking about it on the, I can't remember the audio. I think we said something about, was you the one that was coming to the shadow to the floor, after whatever, something like that. And the ghost box says, "Hi, Leo." I'm like, okay. Why? At that given moment, because we were the ones that saw it. Jeremiah had seen it. We saw things in the house that night that I can't explain. I mean, there's one piece of audio where Jeremiah sees this and runs in the house by himself. We're outside watching from the outside in, and you can hear him on my recorder. And he's coming in, looking around, and you hear him and then you hear him exit out the room, out with the actual house, and come out and talk to us. You can visibly hear something say, "He's gone." So they're aware of who was coming in and let's hide her. And then now when he's gone now. It's going to come back out.
Wasn't the pets in the house, right?
There was no pets. Yeah, there was no pets.
Secret life of pets.
Yes.
But the owners gave us permission that night. They're like, we even use the Ouija board at times. You guys can use it tonight if you want to try it. Some were like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
It's not what we do. We do our own way of investigating. They were with us that night. They went out of town because they trusted us. I think Jeremiah knew them or something. But regardless, that was another case. That whole block was kind of, I think it started from that house and kind of spread out. Because across the street, they were seeing things in the windows that they described as big black shadows with red eyes and stuff. Just kind of weird stuff going on. We saw enough that night that it was a demonic element. But I think there's something that they brought upon themselves, a lot of it. And every time I go back home, we pass through Kingman and I would look at that street, what's on, and like, I wonder if they're still there, what's going on with them at this point. They never contact us again, so maybe things are better, who knows. Let's go ahead and move on to the next case. We're going to be running out of time here if we don't hurry up, but or move on. Sorry. Are you guys okay with that? The exorcism?
Yeah,
I
was just going to add,
Go ahead, yeah.
Ouija boards are dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Roth and I joke around a lot about, Parker Brothers sells them, Milton Bradley sells them, and it's like, it's still, from my perspective and experience, it's like a Pandora's box. Would you stick your hand into something if you didn't know if it had spiders or snakes or rabbits or would you really stick your hand in there if you don't know what's going to be in
I mean,
there?
if fear factor's giving me money.
That's
Yeah, I mean, it's a device. It's used to summon things.
But you
But you have to close that
don't
session
know what
properly.
you're going to get.
Right.
And a lot of people don't. I mean, there's no classes on that.
Yeah.
By the time you've done that damage, it's done. You can't put that elephant back in the box. Right.
Yeah.
So.
The next one I'll talk about is a more recent case, the Latoya Amons. This one, you're going to show a house, and I'll talk about this house in just a minute. It's going to pop up on our screen. So when you see the video, you see the picture of the house. It's just a house. You're like, so what? Wait till it comes up. Okay, now look in the right window.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of debate about this picture. What happened with this particular individual is a female and her siblings, her children moved into this house, and from day one things just started happening. They were experiencing the usual knocks. They're supposedly get off ready. How dare you? Go put it back up, if you could. Sorry, I wasn't done. I'm just giving you a hard time now. There's a minor demon coming out. Anyways, but anyway, they started experiencing stuff right away. They purportedly had ghost teams come in, and there was people were witnessed supposedly one of her children levitating and all this stuff off the ground and whatnot, and just it was enough to where she lived there and she moved out. The picture was taken at some point while she was still living there, and second to the right window second from the right. They say that this is an actual photo of a demon peering out at the people taking the picture. Hard to say. I mean, if it is, it's the first time I've really seen a demon that close, that clear on film. Is it a ghost spirit? Possibly. I mean, either way, there's something definitely in the video, the picture itself. Now, the interesting twist after this is called the Demon House, in case anybody wants to know what it is. Or should I say was a demon house. Some individual went out of his way to buy this house, and then did an investigation, did some filming, documentary, and then tore it down promptly. And the person I'm talking about
was just in the news
is
the other day.
Mr. Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures. For whatever reason, he said everything in this house is 100% real. There's too much spirits, demons for one person to handle. But he apparently could. He's supposed to be releasing a documentary about it at some point. But nobody else can go into this house ever again. It's gone. They demolished it already after he did his thing.
You can't go in there to ever prove or disprove what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because now it's all going to be his word. And
Well, the families,
I know.
they say,
Yeah.
the thing was, I always thought it was interesting. I've heard about this house for years when she was there. This is one house supposedly didn't have just a demon, it had multiple demons in there. And they say this is one of the most active places ever on record. It was in Gary, Indiana. But nobody will ever know now unless the property itself. If somebody builds a new house on that property and it starts all up again, who knows? But
Well, that's kind of my thought. Well, one, what happened prior to her being there? If it's that haunted, then
yeah,
why
yeah.
is there no other documentation from anybody else or any stories or
There's a
lore?
lot of
You
stories.
Because
can
obviously,
research it. There is more.
Oh, is there
Yeah,
more
oh, yeah,
prior to
yeah.
her,
It's
prior
just-
to that lady living there?
Yeah, the thing I liked
Okay.
about it was, like I said, the image itself. The fact that they say they caught something on film, and they say if that's not a hoax, I don't know. I mean, there's no proof of this without seeing the actual negatives, seeing it's on the negative itself. But
Well, and if that's true, taking the house down is not going to change that land.
right,
It's going to.
yeah. But it's just frustrating to me as a paranormal investigator that somebody would go in and, especially him, and destroy it afterwards. It's like, okay,
Well,
I understand.
That's very suspicious
Yeah.
when you do that.
Yeah,
It's like,
he's somebody that wants to benefit off everything and wants it all for himself kind of thing.
And if there was more than one, then there's gotta be a portal or something
Right,
going
right.
on there, because, I
Yeah,
mean, that's a lot for one place.
Right.
I mean, if there's multiple things
Right.
going on.
interesting side note to that case, as soon as her and family left that property, this activity ceased out of their lives. So maybe it was tied to the property, we'll never know, unless they built something
Maybe
new
it
there.
was them.
Yeah,
I mean, our brains, we don't use. Maybe they were projecting.
Could
Maybe
be.
somebody in the family was projecting it. You
Yeah.
don't know.
but I almost feel like if I remember right, if memory serves me correctly, that it started before them too. They just happened to be the last non-occupants of the house, and so I think it was just the property of the house itself. Something in that house made it that evil that she couldn't stay there any longer. She had to get out as soon as possible. And then he bought it immediately after, and that was it's been about 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago.
What was that?
Motorcycle, I
Where it
believe
was.
it's a motorcycle.
I think it was
there.
too, but I think it's over on the highway.
I heard it behind me, so that would make sense.
Yeah, I heard it too.
What's that whining?
So it's disappointing, but it is what it is. So, let's go to the next case. Let's go with infamous Annabelle doll. Everybody's seen the movie. The
No.
picture we're going to show, go ahead. You'll see the picture on the left is the Hollywood version of it. The picture on the right is the actual doll itself that's located in Ed and Lorraine Warren's occult museum in their basement.
It's been moved
They moved it again.
like 2-3 months
Did it?
ago.
I must have missed that part of it. Last time she had it, but I'm not surprised because she's getting older now, and I'm
Yeah,
surprised
they
she's
did a
still
whole
with it.
Facebook Live video thing
You
on
know
it.
what? I think I do remember you reading that. We
I
may
have a whole
discussed it.
thing about it on my blog.
Right. Maybe that's where I saw it too. But yeah, the doll itself is the real doll itself. As you can see, it says it's obviously do not touch because it's known to be that possessive.
Well, they said that even when it was in the museum, people could go down there and it would actually move inside the box.
Yeah.
That you could actually see it move its legs or arms or even its head just a little bit, like it was alive.
Which goes back to when it was in the actual owner's possession. They, no pun intended, they would see this doll move on itself. They would leave the house, come back, and it'd be a
Different position.
Yeah, at first it was just subtle things. It'd move its, arm, whatever. What really triggered the owner itself to call somebody in was she came home one day and it was in her bed. And she's like, okay, that wasn't here when I left. And it was just portraying, it was giving off a weird vibe, and the whole thing itself.
It was crossing its legs. It was moving its arms into different positions. I think at one point they even saw it actually standing on the ground, staring at them.
During the actual investigation part of it, when Ed and Lorraine Warren came in, I think it was one of the relatives, it was a guy, was standing there and it was at its feet, and it started to actually crawl up his legs. So this is all reported from the case file of Ed and Lorraine Warren. So I mean, you can read about it in their occult files and stuff like that. I would love to talk to her. She fascinates me to this day. She's involved with a lot of the cases you read about, famous ones now. Not always. The most recent was The Conjuring 2, which she was not actually a part of per se, indirectly. They went there one day only, but in the movie themselves, they show her being there from day one practically.
Yeah.
It's Hollywood bullshit, basically.
The Conjuring 2, they literally have her there for a day. They go
Was
to
it?
leave.
Okay. Because they went uninvited.
Yeah.
Which you might as well pop that up next. That's the famous we can go back to Annabelle in a second here, but infield haunting itself. This is the picture some people have seen from movies.
It's
The famous jumping out of bed scene that the reporter that went there said that he thinks the daughter herself just jumps out of bed.
well, it kind of looks like that when you see it.
Yeah.
I mean, she kind of looks like she's just jumping out of bed, but supposedly this is her being levitated or something.
There's a series of photographs that taken in succession. I just put this one on there because it's just her in different positions flying through the air. But this is the one that everybody's seen. If you watch the actual Conjuring 2, they show the actual footage at the very end. All those photographs, everything they filmed during the whole investigation. The house is still there today. It's been featured on more recently, Paranormal Lockdown. They went there and with with Katrina Weidman and Nick Roth. They went over there, they stayed in there 72 hours, filmed there, and they had some weird stuff go on. it's an evil house. I'll admit to that much. It's dark.
Right.
I mean, it'd be a house on my bucket list to go to one of these years because I'm that type of person. But
I'll join you.
yeah. But I mean, it's one of those ones. If we ever got the opportunity, we proceed cautiously because we know the history behind it. It's a very dark. That one started off as more of a poltergeist haunting infill one, but they think it's because it was due to possession, demonic possession possibly on some things, on some level. But they also don't know because the children throughout the years have omitted faking things to get the reporters that were filming them, the guy that was doing the investigation, the doctor, whoever, the psychiatrist, whoever he was, just to keep the story going. All three of them admitted lying to him basically at some point just to keep his interest.
They hinted at that in the movie too.
But
For
I
very
never
soon.
watched it.
I liked it.
I don't watch horror movies because I live a much scarier life, honestly, than what we do. I mean, so I live my own horror movie every day, so it's fun. But those make me laugh more than anything. But the fact is that it's one of the famous cases that Hollywood hold up, obviously, and continued it with the Warrens. But as far as the Warrens, well, they went, like I said earlier, uninvited. They tried to get involved with it. They were there for at most a day, did some interviewing, and then left. That's all they did. But they have been tied to some more famous cases. The Annabelle doll, like I said, they took possession of at one point, had it in their basement. I mean, I know you love talking about Annabelle doll because the fact that it's an actual Raggedy Ann doll, and they make it this porcelain, scary, half-broken doll with crazy eyes and everything else.
Well, and that's what I hate about Hollywood. I mean, I love the fact that they want to tell stories, but the fact that they change so much of it that it gets into people's heads, so therefore this is what they're expecting, you know, and that's, I mean, porcelain dolls already freak me out, but, you know,
I love it.
Yes,
but you know, I mean, but yeah, because of what Paula did to me. I'll tell the story. I'll tell the story.
Please do.
So we're at the Midland Railroad Hotel, which on August 5th we already got a sold out event there. So there's a little girl that has been seen and has been heard. We've captured stuff on camera and stuff like that. Well, using triggers to try to get her to come out, the group got a ball, a doll with a porcelain face, and all this. Well, when we get the place, we choose to pick the rooms for the team members to be in, are the rooms that are supposedly the most haunted. Well, it got late, the event's over, everyone's going to bed and crashing and everything. Well, Paula happened to have the room where the girl is seen most of the time, and that's where the doll was. Well, so I'm lumbering back to my room, and you know, everyone else kind of took off, so they drove home. So Brendan gets the big bed, I get the bunk bed, and I finally lay down. It's about 4 in the morning, and I go to close my eyes. I look over, and there's that damn doll in my room, looking right at me over on the desk with a little smile. And I'm like, that was impossible, you know. Finally, she was like, oh, I didn't want to sleep with that in my room, so I put it in your room. You know, so, you know, that was enough for me. I didn't go to sleep for half an hour. Because I debated on whether to take it out and put it outside. But I knew it owned, I think it belonged to the owner of the hotel. Yeah, so the owner of the hotel probably wouldn't want me to do that. But it's frightening to actually, you know, see that. But that's what you get stuck in your head, is dolls like that. Not a Raggedy Ann doll that is supposed to be, you know, kid-friendly. You know, it's kid-friendly. Raggedy Ann and Andy, you know. I mean, it's freaky looking, but I've never been a fan.
Is there any speculation of why there would be something possessing the doll and why it hasn't left?
The story is that it's there's a child that lived in the apartment or in the complex at one point. I think is how the story went. The child died and possessed. I don't know if it was that. That's a story that it gets tossed up a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the doll,
But
because I've read up on this,
Right.
because
Right.
we talked about it. The doll was a present from her mother,
Yeah.
from the
Right.
girl that owned it. Was a present from her mother, and they had, when it was moving around, they had a mystic, I believe is what they said, come in and do a seance,
Right.
and the doll claimed that it was a little girl that needed to occupy something, and so it
Right.
went into the doll. But considering the other things, it goes back to the you don't know what you're getting a hold of.
right.
Right.
So they don't know if there was ever a Ouija board in there, or if it had to do with
Or where the doll even came from previous to the gift.
yes.
Right.
Which
So it could have been a number of things, but they do believe that the fact that them saying that it was a little girl, that it really wasn't.
we could do a whole show on a haunted doll. There's some ones out there
Oh, yeah.
that, I mean, there's
Was that Robert or something?
Robert the Doll's one, it's a famous one.
Chucky doll.
There's down in Mexico. There's the Island of the Dolls, which I would love to visit. I
Oh.
wasn't in Mexico, yeah, there's so many dolls out there that. Why spirits tend to go migrate to a doll, I don't know. I mean, but it's hey, Chucky was a doll. Another Hollywood movie, but yeah, we could do a whole episode on haunted dolls. I think it's just because of the fact that it's an object that can hold energy in, and it's what better way to get into somebody's house is through the eyes of a child. I mean,
True.
an innocent life that can
As a
welcome it.
gift.
Yeah.
Well, you've
Oh,
always
it's just your
had-
imaginary friend talking to you, but it's really something coming through.
Well, most of the hauntings, like the movies like The Messenger or something like that, it's
Right.
the little kid,
Right.
or even the Paranormal franchise. Who are you talking to? Oh, I'm talking to blah, blah, blah. Okay, Benny, sure you are. This kid's so
Right.
cute, and then things happen.
Right. We're gonna move on next because we're running out of time here, but we may go a little longer depending on time allows.
We may go longer.
We haven't got to the good cases yet,
Yeah.
so let's go. Speaking of child, let's go to the Sallie House, one here in Kansas, Atchison, Kansas. You'll see that picture here in a minute. Pop up. Why it's reason why I have it on here. It's not necessarily a demonic case, but it kind of is. It kind of walks that line because there's different stories, versions of it that
People claim it.
there's Sallie House.
Yeah, people claim
Yeah.
that it is.
And I think why people think it's demonic nowadays, and it could very well be, is because of the fact that a previous owner tenant decided to do satanic rituals in the basement. If you go in the basement now, supposedly there's still a burnt pentagram in the concrete slab itself that no matter how much they scrubbed, how much they wiped away, painted over, it always seeps back up. That's a fact, 100%. As far as Sallie herself, that's just a name that came across. What the hell's going on? Let's do this, Sallie. We're having some weird shit going on our hand over here. Once again, something manipulating
I
our
think
stuff.
you're going crazy.
No, you gotta see what's going on over here. Anyways,
It was showing up over here.
something clicked on my screen and nobody was touching it. No, it's from our end over here. Something clicked on that nobody even touched, which was weird. My hands are over here. That's what. Look, are you watching this?
Wait.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Are you watching?
Something's blinking at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. That's not us guys at home. I promise you, our hands are up here.
I blame the video operator.
He's not touching it. It's kind of
Here, you want to see my
it
fingers?
makes for good fodder. I mean, hey, we're talking about these scary ass cases and they're demonic and shit's happening on our screen that shouldn't be happening.
But for the Sallie
That's
House,
awesome.
for anybody who doesn't know anything about Sallie House, apparently it was originally owned by a doctor
Years ago.
years and years ago, turn of the
Late
century.
1800s?
Yeah, it was around the turn of the century.
Yeah.
His office was on the bottom floor. Upstairs was his quarters where he lived. The story goes that one night a mom brought her sick daughter to the house. She was all in pain, and after examining her, he said it was appendicitis. He needs to get her appendix out, and that's when they didn't use enough. What was it called?
Ether?
Ether.
Yeah.
She didn't have enough ether, and so after they had already cut her open, she woke up out of the surgery, and so the last things she remembers seeing, or according to the story, is a guy holding her down, plus her mom. So that the image of a man holding her down as she bled out and died. That's the story. That's not exactly what's being claimed or seen inside the That's the thing. They call her Sallie the Man Hater now. It was back in the 80s when the TV show Sightings. And this is in Atchison, Kansas.
Right.
Supposedly one of the most haunted cities in Kansas,
It is.
according to stories.
Yep.
And I've been up there. I've taken the tour. I've been around up there. It's got a lot of stories around town. So there's just a very dark cloud over that town with stuff.
Right.
But it was it was in the TV show Sightings where the current owners, they were going through all kinds of mental changes, from anger to the gentleman who lived, the husband was getting scratched. They were being attacked. The wife even thought at one point he was going to push her over the balcony just because he was changing mentally. So they got the TV show Sightings in there. They did a live showing, and that's when they had on camera, supposedly, this was the 80s, so they didn't have CG or anything like that, but they caught him being scratched right on camera, which just fed the fuel of the story of, hey, there is something there. And since then, there's been, I don't know how many investigations inside.
They
And
do
there's
live
been,
investigations.
yeah.
Even. There was one 2 weeks ago, matter of fact, there
Yeah.
from a good friend of ours does the live sci-fi channel on YouTube here. He does it all the time. He's there constantly, so.
We had Kathy of Ghost Tours of Kansas. She was invited there to hang out with some friends that she knew. They were doing a fundraiser earlier that day. They were going to go there that night to investigate. And she said what she heard was like the coughing, like somebody upstairs, like as if like a gentleman was having a hard time breathing, was going like emphysema or something like that. And that's what they were just sitting in the living room and was hearing. And just this sound of like a sick patient upstairs when no one was up there. But, strange things. I mean, so many documentaries have happened with this
Right.
show too, or this house. But,
Yeah, the people that lived there before was Tony and Deb Pickman. They recently went back with Ghost Adventure Crew for the first time in so many
Yeah.
years. After being not there, I want to go back, and he actually got scratched again on camera right there.
Just posted that.
Did you?
I just
okay.
posted that on.
Yeah. We're gonna run out of time here, so let's go on to the next one. One of the other one that kind of was revolved around demonic hauntings, supposedly ended up being more of a hoax than anything, was the famous Amityville Horror, which this picture was taken during an actual investigation there, and nobody's ever seen this picture.
it's the reason why this picture is so, the reason why this picture draws a lot of attention is because if you don't know the story of Amityville, because you only know about the haunting,
Right.
but it's the murder of the family that was in there, done by the oldest son who was taking revenge on the father, wanted, DeFeo, shot every family member and all his brothers, sisters while they were sleeping, and that photograph closely resembles one of the brothers that was shot and killed that night.
When it was taken, there was no children in the house. This was during the aftermath, the investigation part of it, where they went in and tried to go in. The second owners that bought it after the DeFeo family moved out, or they were gone.
What's
They called people in because they said they were experiencing paranormal activity, doors closing, blood seeping from the walls, that whole thing, slime oozing, whatever, supposedly, which Hollywood made famous with the famous big eyes and blood coming down the stairwell and the walls and all that kind of stuff. The voices telling the dad to go kill his family. But anyway, they called a paranormal group coming in back in whatever 70s, I think it was, and there was no kids in the house, and they took this picture supposedly of this child in the house that, once again, like I said, resembled one of the siblings. Now, I've heard stories all over the years where the Let's Us finally came clean and said, we just made that story up, everything's bullshit, basically. That this kid supposedly is one of the investigator's own son up there screwing around, walking around, they happen to be taking pictures of it. I don't know. It makes for a great story. The picture in itself is creepy enough as it is. I mean, I love it. I think it's cool. the Amityville story itself is not as creepy as the people make it out to be. The house is constantly for sale. I mean, it was just sold like about a year ago again. The people that owned it, the last owner before the most recent people, they went and changed the outside of it because they got tired of people coming to check it out. You can still tell it's the house. You can, but it looks slightly different. They changed the windows. They made it
They
more.
also changed the number of the house.
Yeah, they made it more like windows used to be kind of look like they were kind of slanted, like look like eyes.
Yeah,
to
it
me.
looked like
They
eyes.
made it more square. They put these shutters on the outside of it. They painted the house yellow. Did all kinds of funny stuff to it to make sure people would say, "Hey, this house is not haunted." And
Yeah,
It
they
probably
haven't had anything go on there.
Right.
I mean, it did have a whole family murdered inside. So
But-
could there be something there? Sure.
Right. DeFeo
But-
supposedly said that he was told by a demon to kill his family, and later on admitted that, indirectly admitted, but still says he was haunted, or told by a demon. But basically, he's saying what authorities came to conclude is that he had a vendetta. Basically, he wanted, I can't remember if he was under LSD or something like that, or he also wanted his dad's money or something at the time, and all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's a story. It's part of our history. It's true to a degree.
So-
Always butchered it a little bit, as usual.
Yeah, and with demonic haunting, you know, you look at it, that's the story that they're trying to tell is demonic. But
Right.
they also supposedly didn't know anything about all that. But inside their house, when the Lutzes were questioned and everything, people were finding books in their house about demonology, hauntings, and all kinds of stuff. So they were actually well versed on what could happen during a demonic haunting. So, you know, that just kind of goes against a lot of the things that they were saying.
And I have heard also that the family was in a lot of debt.
Yeah.
So they
Oh,
needed
yeah.
to do something to either get out of the house or to, you know, get some capital going. So this probably obviously was the perfect thing.
Right.
But then I also heard that the Warrens visited this house
They
They
also,
did. They did.
and that
That's one of
she-
their investigations.
That's one of them that kind of put them on the map.
Yeah.
Well, and
Those early
she said
cases.
that what was there had followed them.
Yeah.
So could there have been something there and it followed her out?
Hard to say.
That's a possibility also.
Because she was they were there during, I believe, during this investigation with the picture themselves. I think they happened to be on location at the time with his daughter. There's video out there. I thought about uploading it to this, but I didn't. During the actual interview phase of the chair. Oh wait a minute, it might be, never mind. I'm sorry. That's a different haunting. That's the haunting in Connecticut where the chairs are moving, levitating. and
It's
shit.
another Warren case.
Yeah, there are so many cases they're involved with throughout history. They're the go-to as far as demonologists throughout history. They're the ones everybody knows. They kind of set things in motion for everybody. But they have video of one of the cases. I'm pretty sure it's haunting Connecticut now. I'm thinking about it more. That they show the video of the children sitting in the chairs and just sliding constantly. And they're like pushing them back by the table and they keep sliding back and forth. That doesn't seem to be manipulated by them themselves. It's something in the house doing this.
Right.
But say something?
Yep.
Okay. I have one more video before we show the good one. This is and people don't know what a gin is. This is a case where video caught on, this was making a documentary about this gin. The gin is another entity, devil, whatever you want to call it. This one's a levitation video. It's old. I can't remember what year it's from, but it's a psychiatrist who filmed this. And
It's on there.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
You'll see it. This is an actual gin case where levitation's happening. You can't see it quite on our end yet with the light. There you go. It's coming up online and it'll be on yours right now. This was actually caught on film. There's a dispute that somebody said they think wires were attached to her. I don't know, but it's still a video that's out there that a gin, like I said, is another form of a demon.
We'll play it again.
Yeah, go ahead. If you want to, we'll show it again. It goes pretty fast.
Why were they filming?
He was doing a study on this. Like they were filming it. It's a psychiatrist who's watching this because they think once you get a mental aspect, we're playing a role in this. But they wanted to make sure, so they had cameras rolling on when this girl slept. And there's a lot of, once again, it's hard to, people say they can see wires attached to her shirt pulling her up. I don't know. It's grainy enough, it's old, that's hard to say.
I mean, you can easily do that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You can
Especially
easily
now,
do that,
and
but
you can do, see CGI or whatever. But now, this is back before CGI was even. This
Right.
is that. Some of these cases popped up right after the Exorcist thing happened, stuff like that throughout history. You'll see some of these, some of the other cases we're going to talk about here in just a minute. That's going to wrap things up here. A lot of these things popped up afterwards. People all of a sudden, oh yeah, this person's we need to get this person exercised. We need to have exercise, whatever you want to call it. Things like that started happening throughout history, but this is one of the cases, that gym one, where it happened about, I think that was in the 70s also too. So I mean, it's interesting. I thought it was pretty cool, but don't play the video yet until I key on that. We're gonna go through the top. What the fuck was that? Oh, you just let off the thing, I guess.
No, the
I
wheel
was sitting
broke
all the
right
way
there.
back.
Did it break?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the wheel's right in front of you.
Oh shit, it did.
Yeah, so
Sorry guys at home, I was talking to our producer by the same Max, and his chair just about toppled over.
Yeah, I'm just glad it didn't like fall. It's just like
Just heard that loud crash on there, and he about fell over.
here you go.
That was crazy. I saw it happen. I was looking right at him when he was talking to me, and next thing I know, it was, holy shit, dude. That was bizarre.
Ruth, I owe your dad a chair.
I love the fact that all this stuff's happening tonight, because it's like,
Not allowed to
we're
borrow
talking about a
anything anymore.
serious subject, and all this shit behind the scenes is happening. And
If this one breaks, I'm done.
You'll just
Not
have
allowed to
stand.
borrow any chairs from anyone anymore.
I hope it's because we're talking about this next case, because this ties it in. We're going to say?
Yes. No, I'm just ready to.
Okay. But I started to say, Max, don't play the video yet until I key you. I want to set it up. We're going to talk about it a little bit, and then I'll key you. Don't touch anything. This next case is one of them that, if I'm ever going to get weirded out by, this would be the one, because the nature of it, what we're going to play for you tonight, it's going to be, it speaks for itself. You can say it's the case of Anneliese Michel out of Germany.
This happened in 1973 in Western Germany, what was then Western Germany.
She was born in September 21st, 1952 in Germany. She died young, July 1st, 1976. At the very beginning, you'll see a picture of, not yet, you'll see a picture of her normal, you'll hear her talk normal, and then what we're going to play, like I said, if people at home don't want to see this part, this is the part you want to probably turn off. You don't want to hear it. It's creepy. Not yet. Turn off trigger. No, I'm kidding. Basically, like I said, what it is it was one of the times that a Catholic exorcism was performed, and the reason why it was performed is because she was a very strong Catholic in her belief. The noise is happening again over there. She, at age 16, was in an accident, started suffering noises again, epileptic seizures.
Yeah, she was on medicine for 4 years
They
for
started
epilepsy
treating her.
seizures.
Nothing was helping. They tried everything. They tried to treat her for, what else they treat her? Sorry. They tried giving her psychiatric treatment. It wasn't effective. Nothing they did would help her. Medicine, nothing.
She was refusing to eat. She was going to abnormal behavior like violent rages, screaming, and trying to attack those around her.
Yeah. Like I said, age 16, this started to happen, seizures. At age 20, she started to hear voices. They brought it in, their priest, his name was Ernest Alt. She wasn't a very big girl, but she was pretty healthy at the time, before this all started happening. They tried, like I said, doing an exorcism on her. They did multiple times. Nothing would work.
Total of 67 exorcisms
Right.
on her.
She ended up, on the very last attempt, she ended up passing away because it was just too much for her. She weighed a total of 68 pounds at the time of her death. The official cause of death was she was emaciated, which means she had extreme weight loss. She was malnutritioned, dehydrated. Now, during the process when she would never eat is because when she would talk to them, she would say that the demon, it would say that we're not let her eat. I'm going to say what it said. We're not let this bitch eat. We're going to kill her and all this stuff. We're going to take her over. I mean, they were it was a crazy case, but it was.
Yeah. And during the exorcism and everything, she was showing signs of just crazy symptoms. She was eating spiders. She was licking her own urine off the floor. She was doing a lot of weird, obscene things that they couldn't really understand and control with that during the process of everything. It was 67 times of exercising her.
Right.
Oh, we're going to go longer.
Yeah, we're going to go a little bit longer than normal. We'll be fine.
When you say it was an accident, what kind of an accident?
They didn't really get into much about the accident part of it. They just said that she suffered an accident. Maybe it was just, I don't know if she had a breakdown or something, but it started giving her the seizures, like I said, and her mood changed. When nothing was working on helping her, she started becoming depressed. She's the one that actually asked for the Catholic priest to come in because she was such a devout Christian, or Catholic, whatever you want to call it. That her belief was strong enough that she said, I want a Catholic priest to come in and do this exorcism, and her parents agreed to it. Now, when she passed away, her parents and the priest were all tried. They were found guilty of malnutrition, negligent
homicide.
Negligent homicide. They were given original 6 months in jail, but it actually went down to three years of probation. When she died, her knees were broken. Both her knees were broken due to numerous genuflections, which, you kneel down, whatever, up and down, the Catholic religion. Yeah. One interesting fact, as recently as 2013, her home she lived over in and she died in Germany, fire recently broke out in that actual house, but the local authorities said it was arson. But many people believe it's tied to the case still to this day, even though she died in 1976. The thing about this is Hollywood got his hands on this one too. They always do. This is the movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. But the thing about that movie itself that tied into this case was they used the actual trial itself. So during the trial scenes in that movie, if anybody's watched it, they used that as the basis from the actual fact from Anneliese Michel's case. The exorcism itself was just made up. They did on their own, to a degree. Anybody have any questions before we go in a little bit deeper? I want to go, and then we'll go into the video here soon to wrap it up. Does you have anything you want to ask or talk?
No.
Okay. I don't do demon names normally. So like I said, this is the part I'm going to tell you at home. If you don't want to know about this, don't want to hear about it, turn off your video, turn down the sound, whatever. She was known to be possessed by 6 demons, is what she says, and we'll just see it here in just a second. First one, First one was reportedly to be was Hitler. You're going to hear it, you're going to see it. It's going to be, if ever there was a Hitler ghost, demon, possession, whatever, this is one, because Hitler himself was supposedly possessed himself. I don't know if anybody knew that or not. There was people that at a young age noticed that him one time he was confronting one of his friends and his face changed, his eyes changed, he had a different look in his eyes, that they actually tried doing an exorcism on him, but it never went through. He wouldn't go through with it, and we know what kind of person he turned out to be. So that was one of the demons. Number 2 was Cain from biblical times, Cain and Abel, the one that was born of Adam and Eve, their sons, killed his own brother. Enough said about that. The 3rd demon was Nero, which was a Roman emperor. This guy was bad enough as it was. His mom, who was one of the rulers at the time in the Roman times, basically had him exiled away from him. It pissed him off enough that he ended up having her murdered. Eventually things caught up to him. They said his rule was one of tyranny, that he blamed some of the Catholics at the time of things of just a fire broke out. So what he did is he caught a bunch of Catholics that he considered he wanted to make an example out of them, using them as scapegoats, and he had them burned alive. Eventually, when the law, whatever you want to call it, the Roman time rule at that time got caught up with him, he ended up committing suicide. The 4th one is The fourth demon was a Valentine Fleischmann, which he's a disgraced Frankish priest. He was removed from office because he was just a bad dude. I mean, to say at the very least, he was always drunk. He assaulted people. He murdered people. We're gonna say that good.
And I was just going to say that the priest who did the exorcism
Yeah,
on
that's
her, sorry,
No, go ahead.
they said that she would have never have known that person,
Fleischmann, right?
of who that person was. She would have never known because that was
Yeah.
more of a topic that was in the church.
Right. So that's what kind of gave her exorcism a little bit more credibility on the priest side, because she, like he said, that she should never have known this guy. The fifth demon was Judas of Iscariot, or how do you say his name?
Iscariot.
Iscariot, there you go. Who, of course, as we all know, was one of Jesus' 12 disciples, who infamous for the kiss and betrayal of Jesus that turned him over to the Romans, or the train of thought here. People who killed him, basically. Sorry. And then the very last demon was, of course, the famous Lucifer, the fallen angel from heaven, where he was known as Lucifer. When he fell, he became the dark angel, and his name soon changed after to Satan, to the devil we know him as of today. But these 6 demons are the ones that possessed Anneliese.
So did they all get together and just say, we're going to pick on this girl?
You tell me. Yeah, it was a voice just occurred a minute ago as we were talking.
Pretty sure that answered your question.
Yep, so I hope it picked up on cameras at home. The voice just occurred here. But now,
Right behind us.
this video, and a tap. This video we're going to play, like I said, it's going to be pretty violent, pretty vulgar, pretty, I mean, not vulgar, just, it's something to see. It's her actual exorcism. The videos are stills of her. You're going to hear in the very beginning, it's her in a normal state, a picture of her. I mean, she was a beautiful girl, if you ask me. I thought she, for the times, I mean, to see what she became, it's mind-blowing to me. So go ahead and play the video. Like I said, if you don't want to watch this at home, turn away now. And I'm going to play it in the studio here, so you guys will hear it.
Ja, ich will auch für die anderen leiden, damit die nicht in die Hölle kommen und so. Aber dass das dann so schlimm ist und so grausam.
Ihr Klötze! Nein, ihr Klötze! Und einmal mir Klötze! Oh, so gerne will er nicht, oh, ich gerne, oh.
Sind wir schon 3?
Ah, wie. Was er soll schneiden?
Als Kind Gottes.
Ich hab ein Bruder geschlagen.
Namen des Vaters. Ruhe gibt's nur dort, wo die Liebe ist.
Ja, bei uns gibt's
Nur Hass.
Ja.
Und wo nur Hass ist, da gibt's keine Ruhe.
Nein. Und für uns gibt's nie Ruhe. Nie.
Weil
Ewigkeit. Die müssen in eigenen Seminaren ausgebildet werden, die dürfen nicht auf die anderen Universitäten. Kapiert?
Klar. Ist da sonst noch etwas zu sagen?
Oh, weil das,
Weil der Teufel größere Macht.
Hause. Befehligt dir auszufahren im Namen des dreifaltigen Gottes, des Vaters, im Namen des dreifaltigen Geistes, befehligt dir auszufahren und nicht
Okay. Well, as you can see, that was one of the most notorious cases. I mean, that was one of the most notorious cases out there. Anneliese Michel, even before, right after the Exorcist had happened, I said the Exorcism of Robbie Mannheim or Roland, whatever you want to say it.
Did
Yeah.
they translate what those voices were saying?
I almost put that in there, but I didn't want anybody to read it at home. They were asking me, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Basically, who are you? And she was giving them names. The one, if you listen to it again, you can hear it. It's clear to say Nero. Yeah, it was basically saying it's vulgar. Like I said, there's a lot of cussing. I'm gonna do to this bitch, whatever. That's what we're doing. You're never gonna get her back and all this stuff. It's tough to watch. I mean, it's tough to listen to. It's one of those cases that's so weird because the fact that nobody knows exactly what happened. I mean, was she mentally not there? That's what they say nowadays is the fact that they don't want to admit that she was possessed. They said that she was basically mentally not there and that she was epileptic. I mean, make your own determination behind that. I mean, you heard in the beginning she was a sweet, innocent girl, and then what she became, and that's her talking or attempting to talk or something's going through her. They said because, like I said, she weighed 68 pounds at her death. It took multiple people they had to tie her down because she was trying to hurt herself and others, and she exhibited inhumane strength that they couldn't hold her down.
Super strength. The smell of burnt feces inside the room. She wasn't eating anything except for like spiders or bugs that she found in the room.
Right.
Yeah.
It was part of our history. I mean, it's part of what we does me. Sorry. Yeah. So I mean, that's why when we talk about demonic cases, to tie everything back up, it's very difficult to say a case is demonic. I mean, some of the stuff we showed you tonight, that's the most extreme cases that people would classify as demonic. I think the video and the audio and stuff like that speaks for itself. Now, when you have your haunting at home and you say, I was touched, okay, so what, kind of puts it in perspective, if you ask me. It's craziness, right? Any final thoughts before we wrap up this evening? I hate to end on a downer, but
oh no,
that's the cream of the crop right there. Actually, that's the most demonic haunted cases I've
know.
And there's more out there. I mean, we could spend another 2 or 3 hours talking about some of these cases. I didn't go into some of them. This is the ones that are more famous people know of because of what Hollywood did with them and things like that nature. There's more out there, trust me.
See, I didn't know about the Hitler.
Yeah.
So it was actually naming them.
Oh yeah. It was saying this is who's in me, and I said that as far as the Hitler itself, that sounded like Hitler to me. If you ever hear Hitler talk,
it sounded like a speech.
Were they talking in the language like?
That was German.
What they would have.
Yeah, that was German. All that was German talk, but she was communicating through them. Or they were communicating through her allegedly.
In German.
Right.
But not in.
Like Roman, whatever.
Yeah.
Because she was German, and this is how she was talking.
Right. Yeah.
But what I'm saying, My
But
thought
it's the
is,
same.
Right.
if it was Nero, then he'd
Right.
be talking in ancient.
Right.
Right.
I want to say yes, that they were doing that. I have to go back and look at that again, but I want to say that there was telltale signs in the speech pattern and stuff that they were saying and what they were saying that she could never have came up with that on her own. It was stuff that fit each person that she said it was. I mean, it gave signs.
But then those wouldn't be demons, those would be entities, wouldn't they?
That's tough to say because I mean they're saying that all those people were such evil people that there was no way that these people in history could have. So we just talking about this. Nobody in history could be that evil. That, like I said earlier, Hitler was supposedly possessed by a demon. They thought that they tried exercising him at one point. Nero murdering his own mom. Fleisman for being such a bad priest that they had to kick him out of office, and he was just a bad person. I mean, especially him being a priest. I mean, he's supposed to be the most reverend, supposedly. Here he's.
What if somebody who's that evil and that, psychotic can turn into that?
Well, they say
Does it always have to be a certain thing that is a demon? Why can't a very psychotic, evil soul turn into something like that?
well, what I read, they can take any form they wanted.
Right.
It was to say they all weren't demons
Yeah.
themselves back in the day.
I mean, if you go back to even the biblical references as far as like Judas or, Cain or even Lucifer, they weren't all bad people in the beginning. They became bad people at some point. Lucifer, basically did his stuff once he was kicked out of the church or the heavens or whatever. Once he fell, he became the person he is today that everybody refers to as Satan or, Lucifer was his angelic name basically at the time.
Yeah.
Until he fell and it became Satan and the devil, and after that point he did everything out of spite now because of he's never getting back into the gates of heaven and stuff like that. So, but in Cain, I mean, he killed his own brother. And he was supposed to be made from Adam, his son, and who gave God. If you follow the story behind Adam, he was made man was made from the bone of
Yeah.
that from God himself, whatever. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it makes interesting cases. I never thought them, especially like Hitler and them, to be demonic, but the more I got into this case, the more I looked at it, and it's like, okay, I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you go out and if you choose to research it, there's more in depth about each person's why they think each one is demonic, a demon themselves, what possessed them to be demonic. As far as Lucifer and all the obviously not Lucifer, but like Hitler and Fleisman and all them, there's more out there about it. I just didn't want to get too much information out of the way on them because there's just more of the fact that she says she was possessed by these 6 demons that, like Fleisman, she should have never known about. I mean, I didn't know about it until I actually read about it more, and I'm like, oh. It's curious. I mean, not all demons are possessed by the name people know of. Like I don't want to say any names, but there's quite a few out there that are well known.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy, but it is one of the cases out there. So, anybody else want to chime in or anything in the studio, or any final thoughts, or?
No, that was pretty intense.
Yeah, like I said, it's a way to go out. I mean, it's a sad case that they couldn't help her. Unfortunately, she's one of the failed exorcism cases that turned negative as far as the whole thing itself. Enough to where the church, indirectly in '99, changed its ways of how you do exorcism because of based upon this. They want to make sure somebody's evaluated thoroughly before they decide to go that route, which I kind of touched upon earlier. So, with that being said, this is the Cryptic Heartland podcast. It was episode 6. Follow us in the future again. We'll be back next week, same time, with a much lighter case, funner topic maybe we'll say. But if you have any questions, you want to hear anything, if you want us to talk about anything in particular, please let us know. Drop us a line, email us, call us, whatever you want to do, and say, hey, I'd love to hear you guys talk about this topic. So, with that being said, thank you to the panel, thank you to the people at home, and to the people in the studio. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye.